Well, let's just hop into it. What happened? Tell me about the bullshit, please.
Well, Monday morning, the alarm went off, and I went down to the store to find the fire department present. We had in our front window a display of various LGBTQ related materials, books, and a pride display for Pride Month. And someone had thrown a rock through the window, reached through on the display. Around the store, we've got little bottles of hand sanitizer. And he grabbed one of those, dumped it on the books, lit them on fire, and yeah, took off. And fortunately, the fire department responded promptly, got everything out. The loss was minimal, and our store is located in the basement of a very old apartment building.
Okay.
It was built in the early 20th century, and the damage could have been much worse. People could have been injured or worse, and so we're very lucky that the damage was minimal. And
The worst part at this point is the store still smells like burned books.
God. Yeah. Well, maybe before there's a lot to talk about here, but maybe before we move on, maybe just tell us a little bit about your store, where you're located, and how long you've been running it.
Well, the store actually began online about 2017. I had approximately two cardboard boxes of old books in my basement, some of them occult, not all of them. Sold them on eBay, used that money to buy other books, and just kept doing that. Built a website in 2018, and we were online, and we've been online ever since. Um, After COVID, when people were stuck in their homes for 15 months and did a lot of online shopping, awareness of our store grew. And by the end of the quarantine, I was able to actually take it to the next step and open a physical location. That's when I brought in my partner Uta, and we've been in this location in Portland, Oregon now for coming up on 3 years.
3 years. Okay, that's awesome. And is this the first time this has happened? I think people said online that this has been an ongoing thing for you.
Well, in January, the same individual, he's on camera both times, the same individual threw rocks through all of our windows. And about a week later, he hit another kind of new age store in the area, exact same thing, threw rocks through all their windows. So that was absolutely a hate crime in and of itself.
Okay.
This time he escalated.
So do we know anything about who this person is or what their motivations are?
One can only guess.
We know they don't like two things.
They don't like the occult.
Occult books and gay pride.
I think some things can be inferred from that.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's like really easy to try to read things into this, but I, of course, want to be careful about that. It did occur to me, I wonder, because I saw you had a Star of Babylon in the window, and it occurred to me like maybe somebody also thought this was a Star of David, potentially. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I
who
certainly
knows what happens in
like
these
that
people's.
is a possibility. I
There's a
mean,
real
the
climate of
ignorance
hate
of
right
this
now.
person is quite great. I don't give this guy a lot of credit for being the smartest, the sharpest knife in the drawer. So,
Yeah.
uh, but I mean, it could be any number of things. The other store that he hit did not have anything like that. They are mostly crystals and herbs and things like that. So it definitely
Okay.
does seem to be.
That seems more like a just kind of a right-wing Christian nut job type thing. And I guess, yeah, for people who don't know, Portland, the reputation of Portland is pretty liberal around the world, but people don't realize it's surrounded by a bunch of crazy fucking white supremacist nut jobs. The rest of the state, like people don't realize Oregon, I believe Oregon was founded as an ethno state originally. So, uh, yeah,
Yeah. We do, you know, I still love the city of Portland. I mean, it's a wonderful place to live. Um, I wouldn't be able to do a store like this just anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, but we have so much love and support, and that's the thing that came out of this is the massive amount of love and support from followers, not just, you know, people around the Portland area, but worldwide. I mean, we've been out for a while, and we have a following that is far greater than just Portland. And it made me realize that what we're doing is very important. People really appreciate having this selection of books available. And it just kind of firmed my resolve to
Good.
continue.
Good. Good. Yeah, let's talk about the positive. So, talk about like what have you experienced with the occult community showing up to help you? By the way, don't sell your Keep Silence Equinoxes. I'm going to buy those after this. So, but, um, what have you kind of what have you experienced of people, you know, coming to help?
um, it's been amazing. You know, with the coverage in the news, of course, people who had never heard of us, who were local, who are in the magical community, are suddenly becoming aware of us. And that's been wonderful. And again, hate crimes like this are very un-Portland, and they very much go against the grain of the greater community. And so even people who aren't into the occult were coming in and buying a little something here, something there, or buying a gift card for a friend or relative, you know. So
Yeah, and we're not just getting a lot of support from the occult community, we're getting support from the book community as well, which has been really great.
yeah.
That's great. Yeah, how's the independent book selling world? I grew up my you know, my background is in publishing. I grew up working in small independent bookstores. So I know it's a people don't it's a labor of love to say the least. Um, so how is kind of independent book selling in general?
Well, in Portland, it's wonderful.
Great,
We've got so many little mom and pop
great.
stores in this town. And you know, those people who keep saying, oh, books are dead, you know,
Oh
the
no.
you know, nobody reads anymore, you know, and all this kind of, it's just not true. You know, Portland is a very rainy city. We spend a lot of time indoors, and
Yeah,
the reading community and the reading culture here is very, very strong.
that's amazing. Yeah, I used to go there. My grandparents lived there, so I used to go there and go to Powell's back in the day. But yeah, and then when I was working in the publishing industry, it became clear that basically are probably aware of this. The Pacific Northwest essentially single-handedly supports the entire publishing industry in America. I'm not even exaggerating. That's where almost
I,
all the book sales are.
yes.
Yeah, I just went to the indie book fair yesterday. They were all set up over in Southeast. It was great to see so many people pursuing their passion, doing independent publishing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think whatever else people say about the occult world, we're all just kind of book nerds at the end of the day, and we love books and we love good-looking books. And I got to say, I did go to your website after I saw this unfortunate incident. You have an awesomely curated collection. It's like really good stuff. So I'm
I'm
definitely gonna get some
I'm
stuff.
really cautious about what I bring in because there's so much garbage out there. And I don't certainly endorse everything that I bring in, and certainly haven't read all the books. But I do try to make sure that it's something that's got at least substance to it. If it is a beginner book, I'm looking, does it have a good bibliography that people can go down the rabbit hole later on? Um, yeah, it's something I'm very cautious of. And you know, I got my start really doing the more rare books and
Hmm.
antiquarian and
Right.
things like that. And grudgingly, when I opened the store, began to more get into the paperbacks and
Yeah, like I started as a, well, Steve and I have been friends since 2006, but I started as a customer before I became a business partner. And I've seen the growth of the inventory. He started out, like you said, with a lot of rare, kind of more expensive things, and as we've been open longer, he's been bringing in more affordable things that on a wider variety of topics. There's really something for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed any trends in what people are most interested in, and if that's changed in the time that you've been doing this?
I mean, obviously the classic grimoires are always a draw. No one carries them, at least the bookstore wise. I mean, you can go in, sometimes you can find maybe the Lesser Key of Solomon or something along those lines. But there's always a draw to those. But otherwise, it's been very curious in the past 3 years of doing this that I've not been able to pick up any definite pattern of anything. We'll have a book or a tarot deck that will be hot for a moment, and then the sales will die down. Something else will become hot for a moment, but it's really difficult to gauge just what people are going.
That's interesting. Oh, you froze.
This is really a spiritual path for people, and it's so individual for each person.
Absolutely.
Everybody has a different thing that they connect to. So it's just a wide spectrum, wide variety.
I
Yeah,
also think it
go
has
ahead.
to do with if you have somebody who's an influencer in their circle or has a lot of friends and they buy a really pretty book or a beautiful new tarot deck and they go and they show their friends and say, hey, I got this at Dark Star Magic. Then all of a sudden I've got other people coming in going, hey, I want one of those too. And it'll get really hot for a moment and then go back to normal.
Yeah,
So,
that's an interesting point about this being so individualistic and yeah, it's like that you can't even really talk about magic because everyone's got their own trip that they're on. It's like every drug trip's different, you know. So but talk about, I'm guessing, often talk about community building and what you've seen and what people are able to come together about, and clearly love of books is a big one.
yeah, I mean, well, one of the things that I always dreamt of for Dark Star Magic decades back. This has been a dream of mine for literally decades. And I had a lot of time to really paint that picture in my mind and what this store would look like. And one of the things that I absolutely wanted to see was Dark Star Magic become a hub for the local community, no matter what your practice. If you're practicing green witchcraft or you're into alchemy or ritual magic, you're going to find stuff. So what we've really been working on lately is offering a greater variety of classes where I
Okay.
bring in people who are experts in one thing or another, and I just say, hey, come on in, and the floor is yours for a couple hours, talk.
That's
And
awesome.
it's been wonderful. We've had several occasions where we've had Eric Arneson from the Arnemancy podcast come in and just speak on just wonderful, deep topics. We've had some really excellent presenters. They still are coming to us. We've got stuff in the works through summer, and we're working on September and October for that. But that has been a big thing in bringing people in where they're not only learning something, but they're also meeting other practitioners who are present and the conversations that go on. And I think it's really important to continue doing that. That's
Absolutely.
continues to be one of our focuses at this point.
That's great. I'm guessing William Kiesel of Mortlake and Company in
Oh
Seattle.
yeah.
Yeah, I gave a talk about John Dee there in 2017, and then somebody broke the window that night. Like somebody chucked a rock through the window. And of course, my immediately thought is like, why are they targeting my talk? But I think apparently it was just a homeless person who was going around doing that to all the stores downtown.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's got to be so frustrating. I mean, I don't, God, I don't know how much the repairs are going to cost on windows and things like that, but that's got to be so frustrating.
Well, one of the fortunate things is that the city of Portland has grants and things available to where, it's not going to actually cost us anything.
Oh,
You know?
okay.
So that's been one of the things. We've had so many people saying, hey, do you have a Kickstarter campaign? Are you accepting donations? And we've just been saying, no, we've got this.
Yeah, fortunately for us, there's enough crime in Portland that they have started a grant to help small businesses.
I'm guessing Portland may have changed a little bit since the pandemic.
I think every place has changed a bit since the pandemic, and yeah, I think it's going to be decades before we really understand the psychological ramifications that had on our society.
Not good ones. What's Portland like now?
What's Portland like
Yeah,
now?
what's it like now? Is it kind of leveling, calming? Hopefully people aren't burning things everywhere.
It's absolutely nothing what you hear on more conservative media. That's
okay. That's good. That's good.
On the inside, it just feels like we're trying to figure out who we are again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have a lot more crime, a lot of people leaving town.
Mm-hmm. There were, it's kind of a weird dynamic here because right before the COVID thing broke out, we were seeing a lot of people, especially from California, moving north. The real estate prices were going up, but they were also, anytime you have an influx of people from another part of the country, the community begins to change, as they bring in their influence into that. And I think we were in the process of trying to figure out, okay, what does this new Portland look like? And then we had COVID, we had Trump's presidency and some of the things that were going on there. And things got kind of rough there for a bit, but then they settled down, and I still have a lot of faith in Portland. I think it's a beautiful city. We're putting things back together now. But we also do have outside agitators who come in. We had the Proud Boys marching here. None of those guys are, they came in, during the Trump.
You still have that?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
But what I'm saying is when you get these other elements coming in, they're almost always coming from somewhere outside of Portland, certainly, but often outside of Oregon. And but the people of Portland are wonderful. And
yeah, there's a lot of great people here doing a lot of really cool stuff.
Yes, it's a very artistic town. There's a lot of creativity, a lot of individuality, and everybody respects everyone else. And
that's wonderful.
Let live kind of a culture, and I'm not going to let go of that. So
are there other kind of like occult or magical community things happening in Portland as well? Is that a burgeoning scene? Because I feel like a lot of people, when they were during lockdown, had a lot of time to go internally, shall we say, and meditate. And I certainly noticed a lot more people becoming interested in this subject material.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think there are several groups around town that are very active. I mean, obviously we have an OTO body locally. We have multiple pagan groups around town. There's a pagan fair that goes on twice a year, I believe, here. And so it is a very magical community. And I saw a study once, and I can't quote you where I saw this, but it was quite a few years ago, where they were doing surveys and looking at what areas were most accepting of the non-traditional Judeo-Christian kind of things. So when you get these newer religious movements and things like that, and the Pacific Northwest in general was a hotbed for that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I have, because since I do this stuff online, I get to look at my analytics and see where people are most interested in this material. And usually, to be fair, it just breaks down on population. Where there's more people, there will be more interest. But definitely Portland, Austin, Texas, where I live. Obviously, California is the biggest by far, the big cities in California. But also little pockets you wouldn't expect, like Kalispell, Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Kalispell, okay, I see, and I don't even know what the deal with that is, but it's interesting seeing there are these little pockets around the country. I think upstate New York is another one.
Yeah, Missoula, Montana is another one. That's
okay.
There's it's like you say, there are little pockets. There are places where people have gone that are able to live in peace with each other and not throw rocks.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of back in remedial kindergarten level here, where we're people's like, don't be mean to each other. It's okay to be creative. Don't throw rocks through store windows. Don't burn things. You know,
Don't be a dick.
don't
Isn't
be a
that what
dick.
Jesus
Live and
was
let
trying to
live.
say?
Let other people have their beliefs. It's okay. Um, well, that's all very encouraging, and yeah, I mean, let's see, I'm trying to think of other stuff to talk about in regards to this to the store. If there's other stuff that you want to relate to people.
Well, our classes are online now, so people anywhere can join.
Mhm.
What do we have coming up?
Oh gosh, we've got a class on the legends of Faustian magic. We're going to be doing a history of the Kabbalah,
Practical
um,
Saturnian.
advanced Saturnian magic, which will be a practical application of how to take Saturnian magic, add it to your practice. We've got an author coming in who wrote about the nature of ghosts, and
Okay.
she's a local author, so she'll be doing a
And
presentation. And
the guy coming in who just wrote a book on neo-Nazi terrorism
Oh boy.
yes,
and
Hey,
Satanism.
what's that about?
and yeah, that one is very specifically deals with the influence of certain members of Church of Satan in getting the book Siege by James
Oh
Mason
God, yeah, yeah.
published.
I haven't heard about that. I haven't even
So
thought
that
that
will be
right
Spencer
there.
Sunshine coming in to talk about his new book and do a whole presentation on that.
Is that like Order of Nine Angles and all
Yeah, yeah.
really nasty subcurrent there. God, I haven't thought it. Isn't he a Pacific Northwest person, James Mason? I haven't even heard that name for years and years and years.
I don't believe so. I think he lives back in the Midwest.
Okay. Yeah, we probably shouldn't give him
I'm
that
not
much.
absolutely certain where he's at now, but
Probably shouldn't give him that much airtime. But yeah, that's a fascinating and unfortunately much more relevant topic. I'm guessing you probably get a lot of neo-Nazis up there as well, since it's the Pacific Northwest.
we have seen there's been recently an influx of anti-pride flyers being stuck up by put up in the area by a neo-Nazi or a neo-Nazi group, but you know that means one plus. I mean, you don't know how big it could be. One guy with a photocopier, you know.
Do you have any sense of what's prompting that, or is it just the standard kind of background?
I haven't actually even seen the flyer. I just some people in the area have mentioned it that they've seen these hate flyers going up. But uh, again, you know, it just takes one guy, you
Yeah,
know, and the community here is much stronger than that.
that's great. That's great. It sounds like everyone's kind of pulled together.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, we're just going to continue to do what we're doing. Our space is a temple. You know,
Wonderful.
like you mentioned, we have the Babalon star. We have a shrine to Babylon in our store, and
Oh, amazing.
yeah,
Incredible.
it's and
How do people react around that when they see that? I'm curious.
we have people that come into the store just to spend devotional time at our altar, and then they say hello and then they leave again.
Amazing. That's amazing.
But it's an amazing altar. It's got a statue made by artist Mary Henlin. She makes these. She has this Virgin Mary kind of mold, but she paints them into pagan deities.
I love that.
And yeah, it's this great big statue that sits on our altar, and
Does she do that? Does she do that? Does she do more of
she's on
them? I want
Etsy.
one.
Yeah,
Oh, I
she's on
love that.
Etsy, and you can find Mary Henlin on.
I've never heard of anyone having a public Babylon shrine before, but that's an awesome, awesome, awesome idea.
Well,
I'm,
and it's appropriate because the building that we're in used to be a brothel.
oh, well, there you go.
So I
Oh,
didn't know until after I moved in and put the shrine up, and then I went, see what's going on here.
Babylon, in my opinion, is the goddess of the 21st century, and I think a great rallying point for the community. You know.
Oh, absolutely. And
Absolutely.
we give out information on her. We've got a little pamphlet that's, you know, who is Babylon, and you know, we try to. I've got a few pamphlets and things that I will try to give out to people to answer basic questions. What is magic?
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know, here's a little about the tarot. You know, things like that. Just you know, for people who are not familiar with this at all. And we get quite a few because we've got a hotel across the street and there are conventions and people walk by and they see the books, but they don't know what
music venue. Bossa Nova Ballroom's right across the street.
Yeah, so we've got bands coming in, we've got all kinds of stuff like that. But oftentimes we will get people who come in and they really don't know anything at all about this. So when we can, we try to give them some basic information.
How do people, I'm curious, if you just get people kind of walking in off the street, what is that process like? Are they open to it? Do you get people being kind of more judgmental or Christian? Do you get
you get all types.
Yeah.
No one is ever antagonistic.
That's good.
If they feel uncomfortable, they just leave. They go stand outside and wait for their friends. There's what I call the muggle pirouette, where somebody comes in and they look and they look, they go full circle, and they walk right back out.
That's great. That's hilarious. That's great.
And it's not everybody's cup of tea, and I've known that from the very, very beginning. But it's interesting how many people come in and they know nothing about this. They're not interested in it at all. But as they're looking around, they're like, oh, who would love this store? We should tell so-and-so about it. And so everyone is received, well, and, we just try to, make people a little bit more aware of what the occult is.
How do you pitch it to people? I'm curious.
Really, I don't pitch so much as try to answer questions. But, I had somebody ask me, do you worship the occult? And I was like,
yes, well, I do.
There's tractors all over that question. First of all, I don't worship. And second, occult means secret. So, but I try to explain some of this stuff to people and just give them an idea. I'll give them the Crowleyan definition of magic. Magic is the act of causing change to occur in conformity with your will. You've been doing magic since the day you were born. Mm-hmm. And if you start to look at it that way, you start to realize that magic isn't this spooky thing, and it's certainly not Harry Potter, but it's a thing that you do. It's how you interact with your subconscious to create change in your environment. And
yeah, that one does seem to resonate with people. One of the reasons I was interested in, just to go off on a slight tangent, the thing that's so interesting to me about your Babalon shrine is I've been thinking for the last almost year that the way forward everyone's individual, but kind of the way forward for the occult in general is a thelema that is focused on Babalon instead of Crowley.
Mm-hmm.
Where Babalon is central rather than the dead person Crowley, who's been dead for 75 years and is an interesting writer, but at the end of the day is dead long ago. So, and sure. Babalon is so much more interesting and so much more relevant to the actual struggles that people are facing now in 2024 and how people resonate now in 2024 and the forces of repression we're facing now in 2024.
Right. And I absolutely agree. And I am one of those thelemic heretics that is part of the 156 current. I am absolutely
another one. Wonderful.
And you look at the new Aeon beginning in 1904 and the things specifically that have happened, and most specifically women regaining power. I mean, it was shortly after the reception of the Book of the Law, you saw the suffrage movement, and you've seen women reclaim that, a lot of that power, and they continue to make advances. They're no longer property. It's no longer Mrs. John Smith. We've broken that mold. And I think that the current of Babalon is going to continue in that way. You also see, to be fair, a feminization of a lot of the masculine values. The feminine current is extremely powerful at this time in history. And I think that that's something that absolutely cannot be denied. And I believe she is the point of the new Aeon.
Is that kind of how you both?
Babalon rides the beast, not the other way around.
That's kind of how both of you feel?
Yeah.
I wanted to give everyone a chance to talk on that subject.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we still have a long way to go, but progress has been made.
Yeah, it kind of seems like progress is rolling back a little bit too.
And there will be
2
that.
steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah, I think as the forces of superstition and oppression find themselves painted into a corner, you're going to see a more vigorous attempt to defend those values. And I think that that's a natural part of it. And I believe that that's, thelemically speaking, is what Ra Horquid is. Ra Horquid is the god of war and vengeance. This is the changeover from the old Aeon to the new. And it's just a natural part of the change. But I truly believe, as you like, Babalon is 100% what the new Aeon is about.
156%, yeah, all the way. That's just a point of that my own practice has come to rest on. So that's fascinating, that because I'm just thinking about, I just want to come back to the statue thing, because it's not a small thing. I think about, like, you go into, Chinese restaurants and they have the Chinese gods you can kind of propitiate, or nail salons. There's all these gods and goddesses just hiding in the surface right under American life, and in like mall storefronts and things like that. And it has always struck me, the reason I also got so excited about your friend on Etsy is it's always struck me as really bizarre that it's very hard to find, like, even like devotional Babalon statues. Like, I don't even know if they exist easily on Amazon or something like that. You can get Baphomet and all that. It's like, okay, great. But that seems to me as something that could just become huge at a cultural level, particularly with, the women's witchcraft movement, witch talk, all of that. There's so many levels of that just waiting to come to the surface. And I think that, Parsons was right about that. It's going to come out, it's going to force its way out one way or no matter what. And we need it, because
Yes.
it's the necessary counterpart to the nuclear weapon of Ra Horquit.
Yeah. And hoping a softening of that energy. I really hope myself that the next whole Aeon isn't all about war. I mean,
Well, it probably will be.
I hope
Don't get your hopes up.
find a balance and we settle ourselves down a bit. And
Yeah, it's not looking good, but you never know. It's always darkest before it's not. Well, this has been an excellent talk.
well,
Where
thank you
can
for
people?
having us on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
This is-
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was great. And where can people find you online, or if they're in Portland, they can go to your
Well, you can find us online at darkstarmagick.com. And we spell our name Magick, but you can actually even put in Magic, because I own both domains.
Oh, very good, very smart.
So darkstarmagick.com will get you to the website. We're located in Portland at 729 East Burnside. So we're outside of downtown. And yeah, we're open every day but Monday.
And we ship all over the world.
We ship worldwide. And as we said earlier, the classes are offered online. All the information is on our website. And also, just to the artist's name once again was Mary Henlin, who makes the little Babalon statues. Portland Mary is what she goes by.
Okay.
And you can find her on Etsy.
I go check that out.
That's on Instagram.
Oh yes, and Instagram. You can find us there at Dark Star Magick.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I just want to do a shout out for you also, not because of the incident, which is unfortunate, but because it was unfortunate how I found out about your store. But when I went to your site, you have a phenomenally good selection. So I was excited to see. This is like a great resource.
Thank you.
Resource. There's stuff like that in the UK more, but and there's like Watkins Antiquarian, but like you have a great much more accessible collection too. So
well, I'm old enough to remember the days back in the 70s when there were occult stores, and the Satan scare kind of put everything underground. It all became about white witchcraft only, or new age, or metaphysical, but the deeper subjects disappeared from the bookshelves. And it's I was glad to see in opening this store that I was not the only one who had been frustrated by that and was happy to shop for real books.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
wonderful, and thank you for
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
All right. Great to talk to you.
All
And
right.
good luck with, hopefully the burnt book smell goes away soon.
Yeah.
I don't have any good housekeeping tips on that, but
Well, we're ozoning the store on the overnight basis, so
good to
you
know.
know,
All right.
thank you so
Thank you
much.
again. All right. Talk to you later.